And we're back.
Hello, everybody.
We're the Horror Guys.
And we're here with episode number 71. I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're here to talk about some horror movies that we saw this week.
Five movies this week.
5 in a week. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, what'd we see?
Bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Were they good? I don't know. Let's see.
Some good, some yeah.
We got The Invisible Man from 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Seoul Station. Recent release from Korea. The prequel to Train to Busan.
Which was a cartoon, which I didn't fully realize when we started watching that. And I said, hey, that's a cartoon.
I know it. The Mummy Shroud from 1967. She's Allergic to Cats, an indie film.
From 2020. Just brand new.
Newish, yes.
Newish, yeah.
And Sherlock Holmes and the Pearl of Death.
Not new.
A golden oldie from the 1940s.
44. Wow.
44.
44. One of many Sherlock Holmes movies out there.
Yeah. This one sort of borders on the horror area, so we're going to cover it. Normally we don't do Sherlock Holmes, but this Sherlock Holmes has a horror angle to it, so yeah, we got it.
And it was included in horror lists, and it's thought of as a horror movie.
Not Shock Theater, if that's where you're going.
No, but it's thought of in many circles as a horror movie.
It kind of is.
It kind of is.
It's got a horror icon in it.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned to find out, because here we go.
So, Sherlock Holmes and the Pearl of Death, eh?
Yeah, 1944. Directed by Roy William Neill. Written by Bertram Milhauser. Sounds like a Simpson character.
Yeah, it does.
Arthur Conan Doyle. Stars Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce, Dennis Hoey. 1 hour, 8 minutes.
Basil is Sherlock. And he's been other things, hasn't he?
Is it Basil or Basil? I think the spice is Basil.
I think
Basil.
the British name is usually Basil.
Yeah, I may have said it wrong, or you said it wrong. One of us said it wrong, I think.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be Basil.
Did you like it?
It was okay.
It was fine, yeah.
Yeah, it was adequate.
Certainly not the most exciting movie I'd ever seen, but Sherlock Holmes, it was good.
Yeah,
it was fine.
Yeah, it's got a mystery, and trying to figure out who done it, who's doing it.
Definitely not the worst Sherlock Holmes movie I've seen.
No, it's not. No. So, it starts on a cruise, eh?
It starts on a cruise ship. A man in a cabin hides a box containing a huge pearl. He's got the suitcase with a little corner worked out, and he's got this big pearl stuck on the corner and taped over.
Neat.
No one would ever find it.
Neat hidden compartment.
Yeah.
Very discreet.
A devious-looking woman waits outside his stateroom and picks the lock after he leaves. We see her leave the room after a few minutes, and she comes out looking pretty smug. Whatever it was she was looking for, she found it. She gives an old clergyman her camera to sneak through customs. I've heard this joke before.
Mm-hmm.
We realize that she's hidden the pearl inside. On the other side of customs, he returns the camera to her.
But
she gives the camera to Giles Conover, but the pearl isn't inside. Sherlock Holmes has left her a note inside the camera instead.
Because he's a master of disguise. He was the old guy. He was on to her, and
he'd been talking to her for hours.
She set him up, and he said, she was trying to use him as an alibi, and he was using her the whole time and was in on it the whole time.
We see who the smart one is.
Yeah. Sherlock. Yeah.
So the note inside the camera says that he was planning to return the pearl to the museum. And of course, that was him in disguise as the old clergyman.
Mm-hmm.
So they hear someone coming up the stairs. Holmes and Watson are back at home. Holmes grabs a gun, and Watson puts the pearl in his mouth.
Good thing you didn't swallow it. Yeah. Hide the pearl. Yeah.
He goes in his mouth a couple of times in this.
Yeah.
Surprised they never did do a swallow it joke.
Well, if they did, it would have been an issue. You just digest a pearl. They don't pass through like a diamond would. I looked that up.
People didn't know this in 44.
I looked this up.
You swallow a pearl don't come out.
Pearls don't survive stomach acid.
You learned? See, it's an educational podcast.
Now, some of it might make through. Depends on the size of the pearl.
It's not going to be worth what it was.
But it's just made of calcium carbonate, like a calcium supplement. It'll just digest.
Eat
down.
Pearls. They're good for your bones.
They're good for you. Yeah.
Okay, so the person coming up the stairs...
That's how rich people stave off osteoporosis. They eat pearls. And
pearl a day keeps the bones away.
Calcium supplements.
Wow. So coming up the stairs, it turns out to be just Inspector Lestrade. Nobody important.
And I had kind of an issue with that, and it's actually pointed out in trivia too. Sherlock Holmes would being the genius, and he would recognize somebody's footsteps, who he knows, and he's like, he has no idea who this is coming up the stairs. Like, oh, come on, it's Sherlock Holmes.
He'd probably tell the guy's shoe size and
what
kind of haircut he had
for breakfast, and
that's a good point.
Have he burned his toast or not? And
Well, the three of them then return the pearl to the museum, where the curator demonstrates an incredibly lame security system, which Holmes quickly disables in order to demonstrate its uselessness.
Yeah, but
every little item in the museum has its own little alarm switch, and they're all connected to this one control panel.
One continuous electrical circuit. You break any of the circuit, and the alarm goes off, but you also break the circuit and it disables the whole thing. It was kind of lame.
Yeah. So none of them notice the man loitering outside the door listening to their conversation. The man then steals the pearl while Holmes is making his point. So Holmes is sort of his accomplice by accident.
Goofed there, yeah.
And they quickly round up Giles Conover, but he doesn't have the pearl on him. Lestrade mentions a new murder case he's working on. Major Harker, a retired military man, has had his back broken. Holmes says it can only be the Oxton Creeper, who's supposed to be dead. But maybe he escaped after all.
No. So we have a creeper in this, eh?
Yeah, a creeper.
Small role for the creeper. Yeah.
Conover comes to see Watson disguised while Holmes is away. He leaves a trap inside a book for Holmes, but Holmes figures it out before it hurts anyone. Holmes gets another phone call, and there's an old woman with her back broken. There's a monster loose in this city, Holmes explains. A third murder occurs later that night, and Holmes is convinced that the creeper and Conover are somehow connected.
Because he's Holmes and he makes connections like that.
Yeah. Holmes pieces together the broken china. Each body has a bunch of broken china laying around it.
Yeah, all the dishes all smashed in a pile. Why? But why, we wonder.
Turns out there are 3 identical plaster casts of Napoleon statues. Holmes thinks that the pearl was hidden in one of these Napoleons. They then track down the plasterer, who says he made 6 of these Napoleon busts. They follow the trail of Napoleons to a shop across town, where 2 of the busts have been broken, but the 6th was sold to Dr. Caldecott. Except Naomi, Conover's partner, has changed the name of the book. It's not really Caldecott. Naomi calls Conover and tells him that she is terrified of the creeper.
The creeper is coming for you and your Napoleon.
The creeper's kind of got a creeper crush on her. And she knows it. She doesn't like the creeper. The creeper is, creepy.
She thinks she's creepy.
Yeah. They arrest Naomi and head over to the home of Dr. Boncourt, the actual buyer of the 6th Napoleon. Conover and the creeper go inside, but Holmes is waiting inside with a gun. Conover steals away the gun and calls in the creeper. Holmes talks about poor Naomi going to prison over all of this, and he knows that the creeper is soft on her. We don't know how he knows that, and it's never explained.
Because he's Holmes, he knows all these things.
The creeper turns on Conover, which goes badly for him. Holmes then shoots the creeper and shoots him dead, or at least until the next creeper film. The end.
He's not really dead.
Well, the story is based on The 6 Napoleons by Arthur Conan Doyle, a legitimate Holmes story. It's a decent story with a great cast, and I don't remember ever seeing Holmes carrying a gun before. Or am I just mixing him up with, Doctor Who?
With Doctor Who,
or something like
that. I think he did from time to time.
Well, obviously he did here.
Yeah, I think it was more of a Watson and his gun. Watson, do you have your gun with you?
Yeah, Watson.
Good, yeah. Bring your gun. We need your. Well, we may need your gun. I remember that a lot. More than him carrying one.
I suppose it depends on which version of Holmes we're looking at.
Yeah, because Watson was a former military guy with gun training and everything.
Army doctor.
Yeah.
Well, Rondo Hutton doesn't have any lines here, but he does play an important character in this first appearance of the Creeper. It wasn't a huge role, but it did lead to the other memorable character of the Creeper and the other films in that series in his short career. So this one came first, and then the House of Horrors, and then the
Curse of the Spider Woman.
Curse of the Spider Woman, and I think there may have been another appearance somewhere, maybe But it could
And
just be
he's
these three.
Immortalized. His face is immortalized as a
Yeah.
monster.
And from just these three films, he's a horror icon right up there.
Recognizable.
Very recognizable, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into horror, you know who he is.
Yeah, you've seen stills. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are still, how about somebody who's been dead for 3,000 years?
The Mummy.
The Mummy Shroud.
The Mummy is
in
back.
1967.
A different mummy is back.
He's a well-dressed mummy. He has a shroud.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you like it?
I did overall, yeah.
Overall,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was decent.
Yeah.
A little bit different than the other mummy movies. A little more action-oriented in this one.
And I thought the main people were a little more likable. They were still kind of, imperialistic and, colonialistic.
You can't really have a movie
racist.
with British people in Egypt without touching on colonialism a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. But
I don't know if they intended it in '67.
I liked these people better. I was rooting for them more, I think, than any of the other mummy movies I've seen.
Usually you're waiting for the mummy to kill everyone. Well, please kill everyone this time.
Yeah, please just wipe out
let
these
the mummy
people.
win.
Yeah, let him have his way.
Yeah, well, the mummy was a good guy in this one. He was doing his job.
Just doing his job.
Yeah.
Everybody was just kind of doing their jobs.
Yeah. Directed by John Gilling, who was doing his job. Written by John Gilling and Anthony Hines. Stars Andre Morell, who was Holmes in Hound of the Baskerville, and he was one of those Quatermass films, I think. Mm-hmm. John Phillips and David Buck, hour and 30 minutes.
You know who else is in it? The Master.
The Master, yes, from Doctor Who.
From Doctor Who.
Roger Delgado, the first Master.
Who played him for a long time, and he plays a protective
and he was pretty
Egyptian
recognizable
guy.
Here.
Yeah. Wasn't in disguise, Yeah, one of the ones protecting the tomb and protecting the mummy.
At one point he's talking and you can see his teeth, and they get the black markings between his teeth to make his teeth look worse. His teeth weren't great to begin with, but yeah, this was not the worst tooth makeup I've ever seen. It just looked like black marker in his mouth.
It did, yeah. It wasn't
it was
the
pretty
greatest
bad.
tooth makeup, yeah.
So you did like it?
Yeah,
I liked it too.
Yeah.
So we get a flight. No Christopher Lee.
No,
different
not
mummy.
this one. No.
So we get a flight, and it's not Karis. It's not
It's none
Imhotep.
of them. It's just kind of its own thing.
It's what's his name? Prem.
Yeah.
Prem.
Yeah.
Prem the mummy.
Prem the mummy. Yeah.
So we get a flashback and voiceover about an ancient Egyptian king who wanted a son. He got the son that he wanted, but his queen died in childbirth. Eventually there was a revolt, and the king was killed. The son, however, escaped to the desert with a group of servants. The journey was hard, and the little prince died, but gave the royal seal to his loyal slave named Prem.
Mm-hmm.
Credits roll.
And Prem ends up being the protector of the tomb, and all who will defile
defending his prince.
This prince's tomb will face the rage of Prem.
Yeah. Then we fast forward to 1920, and an expedition sets out to find his tomb. But they went missing a month ago. Stanley Preston has come to Egypt to see about finding his son, who's a member of the Lost Party. He explains that the point of his expedition was to prove that the mummy they have in custody is that of the slave Prem, and not the actual Pharaoh Prince. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Sir Basil and his Lost Party are holed up during a sandstorm. Claire, who is apparently a fortune-teller, predicts doom for them all. Who takes these people along with them?
Doom! That's their job. Just to go around saying, doom, you're all doomed.
Yeah, usually it's an old gypsy woman. This time it's a young gypsy woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The sandstorm blows over, and they find out that they are right on top of the young prince's tomb all along.
And speaking of gypsy, I was reading recently that that's a complicated word, and that's an insult to many people.
It is.
Many Roma. And yet there's others who embrace
But when I say it, I'm talking movie gypsies, it's just...
Is. Yeah. But I didn't know this, But it was interesting reading about it. And some embrace it, and some proudly say they are.
The gypsy lifestyle.
Yeah, but you got to be careful of that in real life. That
you don't call people gypsies.
You don't call people gypsies, because they might be really offended by that. Yeah. But anyway, this character, in the movie.
Well, she's not really a gypsy. She just seems to play the part of, like in the werewolf gypsies and things like that.
Yeah.
Doom.
Stereotypical.
The doomsayer.
Stereotypical gypsy fortune teller doomsayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they find out they're right on top of the young prince's tomb. They quickly enter the tomb and start exploring. They run into Hasmeed, who is just sitting right there in the tomb doing absolutely nothing. He's just hanging out in the middle of the desert right after a dust storm.
They're keeping an eye on his pharaoh. Yeah.
Who warns them about the tomb and that his family has protected the tomb for generations. Sir Basil is soon bitten by a snake and has to be carried out just as Preston comes up with reinforcements. Rescue has arrived, just as the main guy gets bit by a snake.
Perfect timing.
The excavation begins, and they soon find the body of the young prince. Claire, the language expert and doomsayer, refuses to read the writing on the tomb, because that's what they brought her for. Sir Basil winds up in a mental asylum, and Stanley Preston is vague about how he got committed. Sir Basil quickly escapes, and Paul Preston, Stanley's son, wants to search for him. Sir Basil runs into the weirdest old fortune teller. The G word again.
Another one.
She's a little more gypsy-ish.
She seems more stereotypical. Yeah.
I guess she's probably desert Arab type, but she's playing the gypsy part.
Well, yeah, it's generically.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, what American audiences thought.
A British actress playing an Egyptian with a Romanian accent. You figure it out.
Whatever she was supposed to be, yeah. Her family has been in Egypt for generations, and yet she had a Romanian accent.
Yeah. So anyway, the old fortune teller explains that he'll soon die. He is dead, but he has the power to move and kill, she cackles. When she cackles.
Oh, she's a good cackler. Yeah, she's good at it.
Meanwhile, her son, who is Hasmeed, recites some magic words in front of the mummy, who then opens his eyes and starts moving. The mummy comes in and kills Sir Basil.
They have a minion.
The next night, the mummy comes after Harry, one of the men who entered the tomb's crypt. He stabs the mummy and throws acid on him.
Doesn't work.
But it doesn't even slow him down.
Yeah.
Curse of Tomb finds next victim is the headline in the next morning's paper. Stanley is now ready to get on a boat and run back to Britain, but Paul refuses to try. Paul thinks it really does have something to do with a curse. And it does.
It does, he's right.
The police won't let any of them live. The police won't let any of them leave. Longbarrow, the servant, is killed next, which drives Stanley to make a break for it. Hasmeed stalls him until the mummy can arrive. Claire goes to see the old woman, who tells her to go apologize to the mummy, but Hasmeed wakes him up at the last minute, and he attacks Claire and Paul. Paul axes the mummy, and the police chief shoots him. Out of the blue, we hear that the magic words can only work from one who holds the mummy's shroud.
So then there's a little battle over the shroud.
There's a little piece of cloth that covered over the prince mummy. Claire says the words, and the mummy turns to dust. She places the shroud back on the dead prince's body, and everything is fine now.
A-OK.
And where did we hear that the mummy's shroud was important until just the very end? Had that ever been mentioned?
It had, yeah. Before, yeah, when the fortune teller, his mother and Hasmeed were talking, and it was mentioned, yeah.
Well,
that was a necessary ingredient. The magic words didn't work unless you were holding the shroud.
Yeah. First, a disclaimer: no real Egyptians were used in the making of this film. Just a lot of Brits in brownface.
So it seems.
I didn't recognize anybody who was really Egyptian.
Some extras in the background might have been.
Maybe,
but
I think it was all filmed in studios.
I think all the speaking roles were definitely British people.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of narration and voiceover in the beginning of the film. The whole introductory part about ancient Egypt is kind of unnecessary since it's all explained later as the story progresses. We find out who Prem is. We find out who the prince is. We don't really care about the dead pharaoh or his wife, but we didn't need to know all that, really. The final scene where the mummy dies was really good, and I'd like to know how they did that effect. The bandages roll away, the crud on the outside rolls away, then the bandages roll away, then the skull dusts away.
Yeah, good,
it looked really good.
Crumbling, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I liked it.
Yeah.
Did you watch a short film this week?
We did. It
wasn't
that short.
It wasn't that short.
Well, yeah.
We watched an indie film
This
instead.
was instead of our...
Yeah, no shorts this week. Just an indie film.
So this is one of those where it was made in 2016, but just recently release recently publicized? How's this work?
New distributor, I think.
New distributor.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was an indie film that probably was, I assume, was picked up by a distributor.
Okay.
So, created in 2016, released in 2020.
We just heard about it.
She's Allergic to Cats. Directed by Michael Reich, written by him also, stars Mike Pinkney, Sonia Kinski, Flula Borg, 1 hour, 22 minutes. Did you like it?
Yes.
I did too.
I did.
There were some things that I started out getting really annoyed with in the beginning, but as it went on, it got better and better.
It got, I think, more
I
fascinating.
think overall, I did like it, yeah.
Yeah. Video. You're talking about the video art, the video effects. Yeah.
Video glitchiness just annoys the crap out of me.
No,
But this one, it grew on me in this one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was the same. Like, oh, wow, look at that. That's hypnotic. So overall, yeah, I'd have to give it a thumbs up.
Thumbs up, yeah. Find it. I don't know where you find it right now, but
she's allergic.
It shouldn't be too hard to find.
Yeah, but you can.
Mike is a dog groomer. He moved to Hollywood to make movies, but instead he grooms dogs. I've heard this story before.
Got to make a living.
Yeah.
While you're trying to make your big break.
And he's written a screenplay for Cat Carrie. A version of Carrie that stars only cats. And he's got in his sketchbook, you see the cat stand on the stage and the blood falling on the cat and the blood covered in the cat and the cat looking around. It looks like it'd make a good story. I want to see that.
And that's really where the horror comes in. It's pretty light on horror.
Pretty much.
As far as horror movies. It's a little light on it. But,
his producer friend Sebastian is more hung up because he's never heard of the Carrie film and advises him against making this thing with cats. What is this Carrie? This Carrie story?
He does. Yeah,
no one's heard of that.
Stephen King. What? Who?
Yeah. Living with his head in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
One day, Cora, a client, comes in, and Mike is very attracted to her. He daydreams about scenes from his cat Carrie and gets chewed out by his boss for being distracted on the job.
And speaking of his job, talk about the most graphic dog grooming.
Lots of good scenes of toenails being clipped.
Well, and his boss is kind of giving him step-by-step directions on how to groom properly and thoroughly. And it's, I mean, the way he's even just the clipping of the nails and the way he's going on and out it, like it's kind of a sensual, erotic, narration of the step-by-step of how you properly.
The squirting part was where I thought you were going.
And that's part of it. Yeah.
Remind me never to get a job as a dog groomer. It's not as much fun as it sounds
you
like.
Want to be thorough, I guess. But yeah. His boss was entertaining too. Yeah.
Well, you are just a giant, sad, dirty man baby, explains his friend. He becomes obsessed with rats in his apartment.
And he doesn't seem to have his life together very well.
Not very much, no.
Yeah, he is struggling with money and job and life in general, it seems like.
Yeah. His creepy landlord offers him his tiny kitten to help with the rat problems. That's not going to work.
Poor little kitten. Go sick him. Go get him.
The rat's going to eat the cat or something.
Yeah.
So Mike brings home an especially vicious cat from work to deal with the aggressive, possibly mutant rats. Finally, Cora comes to his house for their date. They go out and find a missing dog, which they try to return to its owner. The owner's not home, so they decide to break into his house. I thought there was going to be more to this in this part, but there wasn't so much. No. They share some interesting stories. They eventually return to Mike's home, where the two really hit it off well. And then things start to go wrong.
It started out so well.
Worst first date
They were
ever.
Getting along so well. It was going really well.
Yeah.
Then, things happen.
Well, one of Mike's passions is video art, and almost every scene has some kind of visual effect or colorful montage or something interesting going on. He makes heavy use of glitch art, which I generally find kind of annoying, but I guess that's a matter of taste. It didn't really distract from the story, and I was actually enjoying it by the end.
It added to it, yeah.
So it's not a point against it here. The horror aspect of this is pretty mild, mostly in the psychedelic flashes of what's happening in Mike's mind. It's got some weird scenes. It's really only marginally horror, but it was actually a lot of fun to watch, and I do recommend it, especially if you're into the more artsy style of film.
Yeah.
She's allergic to cats.
Thumbs up. See it. You should see it.
Yeah.
Then we saw a cartoon.
Zombies. Seoul Station from 2016. Created in 2016 in Korea, released in the United States with subtitles in 2020. So same deal as the cat movie. Did you like it?
Meh. Yeah, I was very meh on this.
I have seen some rave reviews on this one.
I loved Train to Busan, and I was so meh on this one.
It started out good, and then it got boring. Mm-hmm. You don't want a cartoon, an animation to get boring.
Yeah.
Looking at my phone halfway through. Directed by Sang Ho Yeon, written by him also.
I was too.
Stars Sung Ryung Hoo, Francisca Freedy, and June Lee. Hour and 32 minutes. Link in the show notes if you want to pick yourself up a copy.
If you want to collect the whole set, you should see it, because they're coming out with a sequel soon.
Yeah. So. Train to Busan came out in 2014, 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah.
This came out not too long after as a prequel to that. Mm-hmm. This is the initial zombie outbreak. Train to Busan, you see it spreading and catching people unawares. And then this new one, which I don't know the name, I don't know if they have a name for it yet. The new sequel will be somewhere after that.
Yep.
And if it's as good as the first one, I want to see it.
Yeah, I hope it is.
Well, note that this animated film is a prequel to the live-action film Train to Busan. But other than the fact that there are zombies in Seoul, Korea, there are no spoilers in this prequel for the live-action film.
Not at all.
They both feature unrelated characters in the same universe.
Train station.
So if you watch this first, you watch this second, you watch this alone, it don't matter. It's a zombie movie. Mm-hmm. It's sort of related tangentially.
No characters at all that cross over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, an old man walks through town, and he's clearly sick. He's got some kind of wound on his shoulder.
And we know what it is.
Yeah, we do. We don't know how he got it.
Yeah.
He smells really bad.
So they need a prequel.
Yeah, who scratched the old man? Mm-hmm. He smells really bad, and people assume he's homeless. He staggers over to where the other homeless people are and laid down. Have you ever noticed in many foreign movies, here in the United States, we call him, hey, look, there's a homeless person. Mm-hmm. He's a homeless person.
Yeah.
That homeless guy over there.
Yeah.
But in many international countries, they just say he's a homeless.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That seems odd.
It's
just a weird. It's a weird grammar point.
It's a title. Yeah. He's a homeless.
Says the English teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a because a couple people in this say he's a homeless, and just say he go over with the other homeless. Distraction. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Homeless.
He's a homeless.
He is. A girl wakes up and finds no one else at home. Her rent is overdue, and she can't find her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is trying to pimp her to guys on the internet. Her father sees the picture online and wants to find her. That's never good.
Well, that's what we think.
Spoiler.
Oh, sorry.
The man has an argument with his boss and then finds a sick old man sleeping on the street. He goes to the hospital to get help. The problem is he can't get the man to the hospital. He's just standing there. I guess he can't be bothered to call an ambulance.
Yeah.
The old man finally dies. When the other man comes back, the old man is gone.
Oh, he got better.
Did he get better?
Huh.
He's gone.
Yeah,
he goes off looking for the old man and finally finds him eating a dead child.
Ew.
The old man turns and charges at him. Dun, dun, dun.
So it's got the full gore and violence and everything.
Yeah.
But it's cartoon violence, so it's okay.
He doesn't like cartoons. He doesn't like animation.
I like some cartoons. I've liked cartoons in the past. Didn't care for this cartoon too much.
Well, the girl's father and boyfriend are out searching for her. They see a woman eating her husband and they all get trapped inside a bathroom. They beat the woman to death with a toilet tank lid, which is a nice scene. Mm-hmm. The girl is in the Seoul rail station, and things are quickly getting out of control there with stampeding crowds and packs of quickly running undead people. Remember, these are not slow zombies. She quickly learns that you don't have to be the fastest runner, just don't be the slowest.
Yeah, this rule applies to this movie.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Fast zombies, slow zombies, don't matter, just don't be the slowest on the pack. Mm-hmm. She goes to the police station, but ends up locking herself in a cell for her own safety. Of course, one of the men she's locked up with has a nasty-looking bite wound on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. Eventually, Hee-sung gets out of jail cell and calls Ki-woong her boyfriend. Now, it's all a matter of whether or not they can all get together. And this is about 40 minutes in, and I was interested up to about this point. Then they run into this group of soldiers who have a bunch of normal, uninfected humans trapped in this alley. And this goes on for, it seemed like hours, with them negotiating and talking and trying to... It was boring.
Kinda.
And then they get out of that, and then the three finally get together, and then they have...
The lockdown has been extended.
I would assume so. That's the Amber Alert warning.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first.
Either that or it's an Amber Alert.
Yeah. Beep, beep, beep.
If that doesn't get edited out, we just heard a beep, beep, beep.
It's our warning for the zombie apocalypse.
Well, we're assuming that. Might be
More
something important.
lockdown. That's great.
Yeah, that's
We'll
probably
leave that in.
That's probably what it is. I heard it was coming.
Yeah. So anyway, and then the three of them get together, and we get more drama, which is kind of boring, until the last 2 or 3 minutes where everyone gets what's coming to them.
Spoiler.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah. It's a zombie movie.
It's-
You know that lots of people get it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the zombie plague from Train to Busan got started, but it's also obvious from the beginning that none of these characters are going to survive at the end. Not really a spoiler since it's a prequel. Mm-hmm. And that's the trouble with prequels. Mm-hmm. You know what happened? Remember, did you know going into Titanic what was going to happen? You kind of did. The boat sunk at the end.
Boat sank and most of them died.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The story starts out well-paced and very bleak. It slows down a lot once the military shows up and starts corralling the civilians. Eventually, the two men find Hee-sung, but things still aren't always what they seem. Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay.
I liked half of it.
Yeah.
I liked the first half.
Yeah.
Then it got bogged down.
Let's talk about something that I really liked.
I didn't see it. Did you?
What?
Did you see the man?
He was invisible.
The Invisible Man from
2020.
Now, we watched the original Invisible Man from the 40s. We watched The Invisible Man Returns. We watched The Invisible Man's Revenge. We watched The Invisible Agent. We watched The Invisible Girl, Invisible Woman. All of these were from the 40s, and go back and read our old reviews on the site or watch the old videos or podcasts.
And here's more of Universal trying to reboot the horror monsters.
Yeah.
And here's The Invisible Man.
Almost all those old Invisible movies were pretty good. Remember, The Invisible Woman was more of a comedy.
Yeah, it was very
all
comedic.
the others
and the
were pretty...
Invisible Agent had a lot of humor in it, too.
Yeah. This one, not so much humor.
No, pretty grim, pretty serious.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
I thought it was real good, too.
I give it a solid 9.5. Not quite a 10. Just about.
I'd go with a plain old 9.
Just about.
It was good.
On Elizabeth Moss's performance, I give that a 10.
Oh, she's always good.
Oh, she was amazing in this.
Directed by Leigh Whannell, written by Leigh Whannell also. Stars Elizabeth Moss, Oliver Jackson Cohen, Harriet Dyer. 2 hours and 4 minutes. So it's a fairly long one.
Yeah, it was kind of long. Longer than I expected. More to it than I expected.
Or less to it, since there was a good thing you didn't see.
Because he was invisible.
Yeah.
Spoiler, there's an invisible man in it.
There is. Although there's some doubt at some points.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Because, is she crazy? Huh.
Cecilia wakes up in the middle of the night, and we see that she has drugged her boyfriend, Adrian, so that he won't wake up. She packs up all her stuff, and it's obvious that she's leaving him.
In this amazing house, very high-tech.
Nice place.
Yeah, and I loved how she did this, too. She turned one of the security cameras. Well, we see that she slipped him something, and he's zonked out, and she turned one of the cameras on it so it's pointing at him, and then she tiptoes, and brings it up on her phone to see the video camera feed, and she's tiptoeing around the house, gathering her stuff and sneaking around and everything.
They make good use of modern technology.
Yeah,
not like most films where they have to make an example of, oh look, we got no cell signal.
Yeah,
no,
they got cell signal.
Everything works here.
Yeah, very high tech, all this stuff. Yeah. And then it's very tense, and noises happen, and she's like, no, we didn't wake up yet. Okay, good.
Kicks the dog bowl.
Yeah,
things like that.
I thought it was a really good opening scene.
Yeah, she goes downstairs into the super high-tech lab to disable the alarms. It's all very tense, and we can see that she's terrified that he'll wake up and catch her. Mm-hmm. It's all going well until she sets off the car alarm by accident. She runs through the woods, and we can see that the boyfriend has awakened. He catches up to her just as her sister arrives in a car to pick her up. She makes a very narrow escape.
Mm-hmm.
New scene.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, Cecilia's staying with her sister's boyfriend, James, and she's terrified that Adrian is going to come after her. Emily comes over and explains that, Adrian is dead. He committed suicide. Cecilia explains that what Adrian had been doing to her, and it was pretty bad. Well, you're here with us now.
Paints him as a pretty awful person.
Yeah. You're here with us now. You're safe and he's gone, says Emily. A little later on, Adrian's will leaves $5 million to Cecilia, provided she's not found guilty of any crime or a few other fine print details.
Yeah, his brother is the keeper of the estate, and they go see his brother, and he spells this out, and he says he was relieved that his brother was dead, that he hated his brother too, and so not a popular guy apparently.
Everybody hates Adrian. Cecilia starts getting the strange feeling that someone is watching her. We start seeing lots of wide-angle shots that show just how much open space there is in Cecilia's life. She finds the front door standing open in one of these scenes. She goes outside, and it's cold. We see her breath. We also see an additional breath from someone who's standing behind her.
That was neat, yeah. And the first indicator for real that, she's not imagining this. And
some weird stuff had been going on.
Yeah, which might have been her imagination or not really happening. And there's definitely somebody invisible there. Yeah.
Well, the blankets get pulled down at night, and we start to see signs that there actually is an invisible man stalking her.
Yeah, and it gets worse and worse.
Yeah. Things start going wrong for Cecilia after that. Her work goes missing, and she passes out in a job interview.
And here's where we start to wonder, too. It's a little bit of a mystery, too, because they visit the brother, and the brother actually shows a picture of Adrian is laying on the floor, what looks like a gunshot wound to the head. And, but he's dead, but who's invisible? And see, I was thinking that,
it's hard to fake a gunshot wound to the head in front of police and doctors and autopsies.
So it's kind of a mystery of what's going on, too. And I was expecting a thing where he turned himself invisible and, faked it that he vanished, a normal vanishing. And he was actually just invisible, but no.
There was a body
There was a body. So then you wonder, so it's kind of a mystery going on, too.
Yeah. So she passes out in this job interview, and the doctors blame it all on diazepam she's been taking.
What?
Except she hasn't been taking it.
Somebody's been slipping it to her.
That's what she was drugging Adrian with. So she talks to Adrian's brother Tom and begs him to get Adrian to stop, but he knows nothing about it.
His ashes are over on the shelf. It's not Adrian, he says.
Soon she learns that her computer has emails that she has sent to her sister, and that goes badly.
Harassment.
She starts blaming.
Really gets hardcore.
She starts blaming him for all kinds of bad stuff, and no one believes her.
Making her look crazy.
Yeah. She looks really crazy. Everyone thinks she's going crazy and blaming the dead man for all her own mental problems. She gets thrown out of James's house. Her sister won't talk to her, and it only gets worse from there.
And boy, was it good.
Yeah, how do you know there's not an invisible man standing right behind you right now? How do you know?
How do you know?
This film is all about paranoia and schizophrenia. How would you explain or prove that an invisible man was tormenting you without sounding like a crazy person?
I didn't send that email. Somebody must have hacked.
He didn't.
He did it. What do you mean he did it?
Anytime you've been annoyed...
And everybody says, what do you mean he did it? He's dead, honey. They don't believe her.
Anytime you've ever seen a kid in a horror movie talk about their imaginary friend, it's the same thing.
This was where she was stuck.
She was stuck in the same place.
And how does she get out of this predicament? You are going to have to see it for yourself to find out, because we're not going to spoil this.
Yeah. As far as using a Universal Classic monster for this story, I'm not too pleased with that. Surely someone with an invisibility suit could come up with something more large-scale or ambitious than stalking an ex-girlfriend.
You just spoiled it. It's a suit.
Oh, yeah. Well, the original Invisible Man film had the highest body count of any of the Universal films. The Invisible Man killed more people than Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Wolfman all put together.
Isn't that amazing? And
you don't usually think of him as the bloody one.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
But this one, not so much. A couple people die. The ending was a bit unexpected, but I did like that part. Overall, I liked it, but it also feels kind of like a wasted opportunity for the Invisible Man. It was a good film, but considering the legacy behind it, there could have been more to it.
Maybe, yeah. Or just as a standalone.
Yeah.
Well, but he was an Invisible Man, so, Yeah. Gotta call it the Invisible Man. He's invisible.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
that's our show.
yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at HorrorGuys.com for news and horror updates, comment on the podcast, or to contact us. Get ready for next week when we're going to do something completely different.
We are?
We're going to look at the new TV series Creep Show. Every episode to date we're going to talk about.
And they are currently having that on Shudder, the Shudder network.
Shudder,
is
yes.
carrying it all. Yeah.
I assume there may be other places to get it. I don't know now.
Perhaps. It's been around a while now. Yeah.
We're watching it on Shudder.
We're watching it off of Shudder.
We finally broke down and tried Shudder, and we're liking it so far.
And it's not a reboot or redoing the movies. It's more of the short stories of Stephen King.
Yeah. Although there is a couple little touchbacks to the movie.
Oh yeah, they yeah.
Yeah.
Like the one has a
chained up
box,
yeah.
and there's various things here and there.
Little callbacks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.